Hi everyone, this is my run on the Redheaded Turk Lufenia stage, which is the debut of Reno, and as always I will be including a timestamp in the video description that you can use to skip ahead to the section that you are interested in. Before going to the actual battle, I'll be giving an overview of the fight, the preparation countermeasures, and the party setup that I used. So this fight is a single wave comprising of two castle guardians, which is the soulcage tree type monster. How difficult or easy this fight is really depends on how well you understand the mechanics. And if you prepare proper countermeasures, it is actually a rather straightforward fight. So there are three things in total that you really need to watch out and prepare for. And in order from the simplest to the most challenging one, the first one is actually going to be the Lufenia orb. At the start of the battle, the Lufenia orb is present. It will stay there until the boss hits 80% HP threshold, or rather 79% HP threshold, and thereafter the orb will disappear. The orb will reappear once the boss reaches 49%, and the second time the orb appears, it will not disappear until the end of the fight. The orb has the usual countdown. Anytime a player or boss takes a turn, the orb ticks down by 1 or 2 counts respectively. But the orb is the simplest mechanic to get around, because in this fight the Lufenia orb has a very straightforward way to pause the count. So anytime the boss has 3 or more debuffs, the orb counter will actually pause, in a very similar way to how the orb counter pauses during summon or burst animation. And so you only need to keep the bosses constantly debuffed with at least 3 debuffs, and the orb is actually not really an issue at all. In fact, you can ignore the orb for the most part of the fight. The only exception to this is when the boss uses its missed attack, and I will get more into detail about the missed attack right after this, because right after the boss uses the missed attack, the boss will also cleanse all debuffs on themselves, and therefore, because the bosses are no longer debuffed, the orb will start counting down again. So the only thing you need to really consider is, after each missed attack that the boss does and it cleanses itself from debuffs, you need to quickly reapply debuffs again with your debuffer. It shouldn't be that much of an issue because the orb count starts from 15, and so you have a lot of room to get turns to reapply the debuffs onto the boss. The second thing that you need to take note of is the one that I just mentioned, which is the missed and the missed attack that the bosses have. So there are 3 HP thresholds that the boss will start to surround itself with a mist aura, and it's called a mist ref, as you can see here. Once the boss hits 79%, 49%, and 29% HP thresholds respectively, the boss will automatically use a move called Mist Ref, regardless of whether it's having a turn or not. And you can actually see the boss being surrounded by a mist. When Mist Ref is active, it reduces Brave and HP damage taken for the boss, and I believe it's around the range of 50%, which is quite significant. Mist Ref will also cause an aura that leads to HP poison, and while Mist Ref is active, anytime your party members take an action or take a turn, they will lose 20% of their health. The poison, as with all HP poison, cannot kill you. It can at most lower your HP down to 1. But given that one of the mission requirements is that you have to take less than 20,000 damage, you do have to think about how to mitigate the HP poison effect. Miss Ref will last until the boss takes its next turn, and on the boss's next turn, it will use a highly powerful Brave and HP attack called Miss Storm Plus, which will give itself Brave, do a couple of Brave attacks on a single party member, and then unload it into an HP attack. And like I said earlier, it will also remove its own debuffs right after this attack. The way to get around this, you can actually potentially just ignore the Miss Ref and continue to damage down the boss while deleting or delaying the boss. And there are characters that can compensate for the HP damage reduction, such as Kurasame and Charlotta, who can provide an HP damage up aura to balance off the HP damage reduction. However, the way I guess the game intends you to handle Miss Ref aura is to actually just allow the boss to take a turn and use its Miss Breath attack. Once it gets a turn while in Miss Ref and use its Miss Breath plus attack, Miss Ref will actually dissipate right after that, and the boss will lose the Mist aura benefits. So which means that when the boss surrounds itself in Mist, you only need to allow it to take a turn and plan on how to mitigate the damage from Mist Breath Plus, for which really Gladio is the best option here, but I'll get more into that during the party composition. The third and final thing that you really need to think about is the recast ability that the boss has, which is by far the most devastating attack in this fight. So the recast ability, the recast bar rather, will fully fill usually after every 3 turns that the bosses have. So on its 4th turn, the boss will have a full recast bar and use its recast ability, and it's called Heavy Leaf. Now this is a very devastating recast ability because it will remove all your buffs before doing the damage, and it will then unload a very devastating attack. In some ways, it's very similar to Lufenia orb attacks that you've seen in the past. It's a guaranteed hit, so you cannot evade this, and it also will delay your entire party by 1 turn, which in the later parts of the fight usually means that the boss will get another turn right after, and it may lead to another HP attack that will kill you. So very devastating attack, and given that this is Reno's synergy event, the most straightforward way to deal with the recast ability is to just have Reno use his LD and the boss has a full recast bar. So Reno's LD will prevent the Brave and HP attacks that the recast ability does. However, it will still dispel all the buffs on your entire party. So it is still more of an annoying attack that you need to get around with, and it will still delay all your party members by 1 turn. The strategy that I used, and this is the strategy that I would really recommend, because as long as you strictly follow the strategy, the fight is actually a very straightforward fight. So the strategy that I used to overcome this Lufenia battle is to actually kill off the boss before they get to unleash their recast ability, and it is possible, which means that since the boss will use its recast ability on their 4th turn, you need to kill them before they get their 4th turn, essentially. And by doing so, you then can just forget about the recast ability because the boss will never get to use it. But this also means that because you need to allow the boss to get a turn to use its Miss attack when Miss Ref is up, and the boss will actually use Miss Ref 3 times in the fight at 79%, 49% and 29% health. What this means is that you only allow the boss to get a turn once the mist is up. And otherwise you have to delay or delete the boss's turns until the next time the mist is up. Now it sounds very difficult to do, but with the right party setup, given that there's only 2 bosses in the fight, it is actually fairly straightforward, and I'll run through that in the party setup that I use here. So first of all, I have Amidatelion in the party, and Amidatelion is fantastic for this fight for 2 reasons. One is Amidatelion starts the fight immediately with 3 flame debuffs on the bosses, which will immediately pause the Lufenia orb. Also, Amidatelion can inflict a range of debuffs, most notably that her skills can inflict 3 debuffs at one go. So once the boss use their mist attack and cleanse their dispels, you can very easily reapply debuffs once Amidatelion gets her turn. So just having Amidatelion in your party will allow you to fully disable the Lufenia orb. Of course, Amidatelion is also the king of turn deletion, and she helps, or they help to ensure that the bosses will never get a turn until the mist is up. At that point, you can then just use non-turn deletion attacks such as her Comet skill to allow the boss to get its turn. I pair Amidatelion with Lightning, so that then Lightning represents the big gun DPS in this fight, but more than that, she also represents another form of turn delay. So with both Lightning and Amidatelion in the party, all you really need to do is have Amidatelion focus on one boss and Lightning delay the other boss. And that way you can very easily prevent the bosses from getting a turn until the mist is up. So since now you have dealt with the Lufenia orb and you will kill the boss before the recast ability is up, the only thing left to deal with in the fight is the mist attack, which is very devastating. So that's where the third party member comes in, and I used Gladio for this. Gladiolus's LD blink ability will completely neuter the mist attack. It will deal 0 brave and 0 HP damage to Gladiolus, and Gladiolus will actually follow this up with a counter attack on the boss and reapply his frame debuff right after the mist attack, which helps significantly. So with Gladiolus in the party, considering that the boss will use Mist Rev 3 times and will use Mist Attack 3 times in the entire fight, again which is at the 79%, 49% and 29% HP threshold. Taking note that Gladiolus also very coincidentally has 3 users of his LD, all this really means is that anytime you see the mist appearing on the boss, you use Gladiolus's LD, and that's it. The final thing is that because you want to try to trigger the boss's mist at roughly the same time so that Gladiolus can tank both mist attacks from both bosses, you just want to try to evenly damage the bosses as much as possible throughout the fight. Now in terms of summon unit, the summon unit that I used was Odin, but on hindsight I don't recommend Odin actually. I think Leviathan would be a better choice. I used Odin because I sort of expected to take more than 20% HP damage, but with Gladiolus in the party, his HP regen aura actually counters the mist HP poison aura. So the mist HP poison will deplete 20% of your health, and Gladiolus's HP regen will regen 20% of your health during your character's turn, so it's a net health healing effect. So which means that I will never get the 30% HP increase from Odin, and therefore I actually don't think Odin is the best summon choice. Leviathan's speed down is very helpful because it helps you in your quest of delaying and deleting the boss's turns with Lightning and Amidatelion. For friend support unit, there are really quite a lot of choices that you can use. If you are worried that you might mess up and allow the boss to get a turn when the mist isn't up, and therefore the boss will eventually get to use its recast ability, you can use Reno as a friend support unit. and you can then treat Reno support as an emergency button for the time if you expect to mess up and the boss is about to use its recast ability. You can then just quickly bring in Reno and apply Pyramid on the boss to negate the recast attack. Alternatively, if you are comfortable following the strategy that I've outlined, you actually have no need for Reno. What I use in the fight is actually a lightning fan support, so that at the final stages of the fight I can summon, bring in the fan lightning support and delay the bosses even further with the fan lightning support. Besides that, of course, you can also consider a fan Amidatelion support for additional turn deletion, or you can also consider a fan Kuja support for the extra burst damage to end the fight quickly during the last phase of the fight. So that's it. I will be heading into the actual battle itself, and I will split the battle through the 3 phases so that it's easy for you to plan ahead. So the first phase being from 100% to 79% health. Phase 2 will be 79% to 49% health. And then the next phase will be 49% to 29%. And sorry, so there's actually 4 phases, and the last 4th phase will be at the final 29% of the boss's health. Why I do that is because these are the triggers of the missed attack, and therefore if you plan your rotation according to the missed attack, you can actually see that this is actually a pretty straightforward fight with this party setup. So I'll see you there. Okay, so starting off on the first phase, which is 100 to 79% boss HP, the strategy is really very straightforward. So just have lightning target one boss and Amidatelion targets the other. Doesn't matter which you choose. And the idea at the start is to have Amidatelion delete one of the boss's turns while lightning delay with her army of 1+ on the other boss, so that you start pushing their turns back. With Gladio and Amidatelion, I'm actually saving their LDs for later parts of the fight. Very importantly for Gladio, you do not want to use his LD until you see mist appearing on both bosses, because he only has 3 uses of his LD, which is very precious. So after Lightning's initial army of 1+, I then go into her LD. So this will help to push the boss's turns further back. And then I continue on my barrage of attacks, trying to even out the damage across both bosses because Lightning is a single target specialist. The goal here is to bring them to 79% health at roughly around the same time, and at a point where their turn is really about to come up and Gladio can then use his LD to tank the missed attack. But essentially really is just at the start of the fight, I'm dealing one boss with lightning and deleting with Megaflare the turns of the other boss. Keep a very close eye on the turn bar, and this really shouldn't be much of an issue. So here I decided to use one of Lightning's AA to help to break and delay boss A, mainly so that Lightning will get a free turn after that because she will break the boss. But also it helps to contribute to slightly pushing back the turn of boss A. So, and here I get another use of her EX, so I use it to further push back the turn. At this point, they are coming very close to 79%, so in fact the EX actually pushed boss A down to 79% health, and you can see here the mist appearing the first time. And this means that my focus here is quickly trying to burst down boss B to 79% health, and you can see from the turn bar that their turn is really about to come up, which is very nice. You actually want them to not get too many turns while the mist is up, because you cannot really damage them a lot when mist is up, and you also get HP poison while the mist is up. So as you can see here, when I saw the mist appearing, I halt all turn delay or deletion moves, and I focus more on just damaging moves. So I've used Gladio LD as well, because I'm expecting him to tank the mist attack from both bosses. And here is where I will allow both bosses to get their first turn so that they can unload their mist attack. Okay, so the boss is using their Mist Storm plus attack, and because Gladio's LD is up, he is tanking the attack. The one thing you need to take note of is Lightning burns through her buffs very quickly. So if the boss is targeting Lightning with the Mist Storm plus attack, you need to make sure that she still has the Royal Guard protection up, otherwise Gladio will not be able to tank the hit for her. With that, I'm now in phase 2, and it's really a repeat of phase 1, so here I'm immediately going into the delay mode again. You really cannot afford to let the boss get any turn other than when they need to unload their mist attack. So if you need to, you can start using Lightning's EX or AA or even her LD again to contribute to the delay and deletion. So like what you see here, I popped Lightning's EX to delay one boss, and then I use the AA followed by her LD to break and delay the other boss. And very nicely, Amidatelion has her turn right after, and then she can continue on with the turn deletion. If you need to, you can also use Amidatelion's LD for emergency turn deletion, because her LD deletes both bosses' turns versus the Megaflare attack, which only deletes one of the target's turns. So long as you focus on having Lightning and Amidatelion using turn delay and deletion skills respectively on the bosses, it is actually very easy to push their turns back, as you can see. At this point, Gladio's LD is about to wear out, and very importantly, as I said, because the mist isn't up, you want to not use his LD until the next time you see the mist. Okay, one of the bosses has hit 49% health and the mist has appeared, so this is where I will use Gladio's LD again so that he can tank the Storm Breath Plus attack. And because the second boss hasn't hit 49% health, it's very important that you quickly use Lightning and Amidatelion to damage it until it hits 49%. The main idea is so that Gladio can tank the hit while his LD buff is still up. Okay, so boss B has the mist up, so at this point I want to halt all turn delay moves and turn deletion moves on boss B. So I'm just waiting for boss B to get its turn. In the meantime, I'm shifting my focus to boss A so that I can get some turns of damage in while it is not affected by the mist. Okay, so boss B has finally get its turn and dispelled its mist. And so there is only one final mist attack which appears on the 29% HP threshold. At this point I'm noting that boss A is very close to 29% health, whereas boss B still has some turns to go. So you have to be very careful here because you really want to try to trigger the mist aura at roughly the same times on both bosses. So here I'm reshifting focus to boss B to try to equalize out the HP across both targets with the goal of trying to bring them to 29% health at roughly the same time. In the meantime, I'm back to the usual turn deletion and turn delay with both Amidatelion and Lightning. And likewise, similar to before, if you find it very difficult to delay or delete turns here, you can use Amidatelyon's LD as an emergency party-wide turn deletion. Again, to reiterate, it's very important not to let the boss get any turn until its next mist attack is up. Okay, so boss A has hit 29% HP threshold and the mist is up. So here I'm quickly trying to burst down boss B to the 29% health. Very importantly also, Gladio needs to have his LD up in order to tank the attack, otherwise it will hurt quite a bit. Okay, so with this, boss B is also had its mist up because it hit 29%, and this is the final mist ref and mist attack. So this is where I also use Gladio's final LD. Once you hit phase 4 and both bosses have unloaded their mist attack respectively, it's a clear run from there. So now they have had 3 turns each, and each of those 3 turns are using the mist attack, and you can see the 3 turns have completely filled their recast bar. So on their next turn they will use their recast ability, but because they've hit 29% health and they've expelled their mist, they will no longer go into mist mode. At this point, you are free to turn delete and delay them to oblivion because you don't have to worry about the mist anymore. This is the best time to pop summon after the mist is gone, and inside summon is where you blow all of Amidatelion's remaining turn deletion, have lightning contribute to the delay, and this is also where I bring in my lightning support because her LD use will also contribute to delay. At this point, because Gladio has tanked all the mist attacks, he's really no longer needed, and so I swap out Gladio for the support unit. If you have other support units such as Kuja, for example, this is also the best time to bring him in and use his AoE burst attack such as his LD to quickly whittle down the boss's last few HP percentage. So summon has ended, but as you can see, because I've done a lot of turn delay and deletion while inside summon, after summon has ended, the boss's turns are pushed so far back that you can't even see it on the turn bar. And really here, at this point, they're just sort of like punching bags, and you can take your time to finish them off. And that's it. I hope this video has been helpful, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, do leave a like, comment or subscribe, it really helps a lot. I will be also including a detailed description in the video description. Till then, I'll see you in the next Lufenia fight. Bye bye.